This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey guys, welcome to the WWE Podcast. It is actually Thursday, March 21st, 2024. A little bit late on the mailbag. It seems to be a trend now. Life, man. I don't know what else to say. Just, kind of burnout and everything else. And, obviously I have other things, other commitments, and sometimes they get in the way, but I'm here. And I get you this. I really do promise I get you this as soon as I can with the mailbag here. We're aiming for Wednesdays, but it hasn't been exactly on target as of the last few weeks. But we'll try to do better, and we'll see what happens. But before we get to the mailbag, before we get to all of you who have written in for this week, I would like to thank a couple of new patrons, and that is RPG Junkie. I appreciate you becoming a patron. I thought there was somebody else. Oh, Hungry Pup. If I didn't already give you a shout out, I know that some of you are on the trial side of things, so I hope you continue to stick with us even after the trial is over. And I think you'll enjoy it as we get into WrestleMania season, and close it out and begin WrestleMania 41 season that really begins the night after WrestleMania 40. So lots of content coming up for you, lots of content coming up for new listeners, and I think you're going to enjoy what we have to offer over the next several weeks and beyond. So if you want to go ad-free, patreon.com/WWE podcast is the way to go, as well as on Apple Podcasts. You can go ad-free right through your Apple Podcast app if you just subscribe. All right, let's go to patrons as they get priority in all of our mailbags. Let's start with Sharon. I haven't heard from you in a while, buddy. Hope all is well over there in Israel. Sharon writes in and he says, "Hello, Matt. How are you? I hope you're excited for WrestleMania." And yeah, generally I think I am. Me, on the other side, not so much. Here's your list of things you don't like. Number 1, why does Solo act like a fish? Your brothers are fighting. Do something for God's sake. Solo has been really, I think, in over the last several months, been defined down. He no longer is this world beater. He's a guy that is still part of the muscle of the bloodline, but never is the focal point. And his mystique of being undefeated obviously has been gone for a while. And he does feel like a non-factor. Even after beating John Cena. Beating John Cena is a curse, guys. It's not a blessing. It's not a springboard that you can use to launch your career anymore. Just talk to Austin Theory about that. Number 2, hearing Miz sing makes me want to break my TV. Now I hate truth. I would agree that point on Raw that you're talking about when Miz was singing the song of R-Truth, part of his entrance theme, very off-putting. I would agree. I think they thought it would come off better than it did. Miz was trying to be entertaining on some level. It did not sound good. It sounded very off-tune. It sounded like that was the first time he's ever rapped in his life. Horrible. I would agree. It was bad. But I don't hate Truth for it. Truth is beloved. There's almost nothing he could do to make me hate him. Your third point, Sammy's homeless, and he's supposed to be in the same ring in the class with the class of Gunther. Does Gable go heel? I hope Gable does not go heel. Gable, I think, has a really fun babyface run in front of him if they just put a little bit of momentum behind him. But as far as Sami in the same class as Gunther, I mean, visually, no. But when it comes to when the ring bells, or the bell rings, boy, did I just say ring bells? Good God. You know what? I'm going to keep that in. Normally I'd edit that out, but I'll sound stupid just for your entertainment. When the bell rings, Sami is very good. Despite what we may think of him on a personal level, his personal beliefs that you and I have talked about before, you can have personal beliefs and really questionable outlooks on life and politics, whatever the case may be, but that doesn't really change the fact that you're either good or you're not in the ring, and Sami is very good in the ring. So I have no concern about the class thing other than, if sure, visually they don't belong in the ring, but Sami Zayn has made a career out of that. You could say the same thing about when he was with the Bloodline and facing Roman Reigns. All right, point number 4 and your final point. I learned this new word, heel. I watched wrestling for 20 years. I've never heard about it. I love my dog so much, but Cody's dog makes me just... well, you said S-dog, S-head dog. And Brian Gewirtz wrote this for me. You're welcome. Oh, my God. Well, thank God for Brian Gewirtz. My God, thank God for him. You know, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be able to communicate. We wouldn't be able to say anything entertaining without Brian Gewirtz. So thank God for him. And yeah, I heard about that on Monday. Heel, like when I heard the word heel, thank God Cody told me about it. I thought a heel was just like the heel of your foot. You know, I didn't know that had another meaning. So I'm very thankful for Cody educating me on Monday, bringing in an insider term that I don't think anyone outside of, the locker room has ever spoken about or has ever even communicated to the wider audience. I've never heard it. So Cody just becomes an educational tool every week. So, thank God for him too. I wonder if, though, he says that apparently bad guys mean heels are bad guys in wrestling. Apparently, according to Cody, that's what it is. But so what are good guys? There's got to be a term for good guys. Hopefully Cody will tell us what that is next week. Thanks, Sharon. All right, let's go to more patrons here. Let's talk to Darren. And he says, hey, WWE Podcast family. So, Matt, I heard you give an over-under of super kicks in the Usos match. That got me thinking, what could be some other over-unders? And I got one for you. In the tag match with Roman, Rock, Seth, and Cody, what would you put the over-under for how many minutes it takes to get through all of their entrances? I think it's going to be ridiculous. That's a great question, Darren. Great question. That is a hell... Roman's entrance already is about 15 minutes long. I mean, I'm exaggerating. It probably is around 6 minutes, five minutes. At WrestleMania, it probably is going to be 7-8 minutes long. I mean, it's going to be ridiculous. So you do that, plus The Rock, which is going to have some special entrance, I'm sure. And there's another, probably there's 15 minutes just between Rock and Roman. And then Seth and Cody. I mean, you're talking about maybe nearly 20 minutes. It sounds exaggerated, but anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes, I would say, just in their entrances. It's going to be ridiculous. So I don't know. I mean, if I was to put seriously an actual minute on it, I would say the over-under on combined entrances for those men is about 13 minutes. So insane, but great observation. All right, let's talk to Charlie. And he says, it's good evening, all of you fellas and lady fellas out there. This is Charlie from Milwaukee. My worst nightmare has actually happened. I get to see Cody Rhodes on Friday night. I'm going to try my hardest not to sing along with his music. Also, I think that thing on Cody's dog neck meant The Rock is a PG version of a P. Got it. Can't wait to do the weekend review with you this week. Also, happy opening baseball, everyone. To everyone that woke up at 6 a.m. Central to watch the game day, I give you props. Matt, I'm surprised the Yankees didn't sign Blake Snell. Good luck to everyone that has filled out a March Madness bracket. Also, I did some research, and Matt, this might interest you. Friday's SmackDown is the 25th anniversary of Steve Austin giving Vince, Shane, and The Rock a beer bath at Albany. Hopefully that has something that legendary happens on Friday. Hashtag Cody sucks. Lot there, Charlie. Okay, let me reverse everything that you just said. Go in reverse. Again, that moment of the 25th anniversary of the beer bath hurts my soul because I had the opportunity to go and I didn't because I'm a fool. I was 13 years old. If it was 25 years ago, it was 1990. Was it 1998? 98, right? Or is it 99? Either way, I was 13, 14 years old. So I didn't make exactly the best decisions back then, and I really, really regret not going to that. However, as far as your March Madness, I haven't filled out any brackets this year. I kind of dipped my toe in and out of March Madness. From what I understand, UConn is a overwhelming favorite. Houston's not getting a whole lot of love, even though they're a 1 seed. Arizona's not getting a whole lot of love. And Auburn, I guess, I think those are the 4 number 1 seeds. Auburn and UConn and Houston. in Arizona. I think those are the 4, if I'm not mistaken. And it seems as if UConn is an overwhelming favorite to win the whole thing. So that's all I know. As far as the Yankees signing Blake Snell, the thing is with Cole, okay, and we'll just do some quick baseball talk for those of you that don't give a damn about baseball. I feel your pain, but I'll just do a quick comment on this. The Yankees have lost their best pitcher, and arguably the best pitcher in baseball, for a couple of months, probably until June. All right. And that doesn't mean they need to go out and they need to purchase Blake Snell. Okay. I don't think they need his services. Why? Cole isn't gone for the year. He's not getting Tommy John surgery, at least at this point. So all you have to do is kind of hold the fort until Cole gets back, tread water until Cole gets back. And you hope that your offense, which has been improved since last year, makes up for the absence of Cole. Obviously, if that means you're going to probably have to outscore the pitcher that would have otherwise been in a pitching duel with Cole. You would have had to you're going to have to slug your way out of a lot of problems is what you're going to have to do. So I think that's how they're going to do it. I wouldn't pick up Blake Snell also anyway, because they already offered him I think it was a 6-year, $150 million deal, and they turned it down. He turned it down. Plus, if they get Blake Snell, guess what they're going to have to do? Get him warmed up, get him some live games and at bats, get his arm ready to go. He's not going to be ready for opening day a week from now. He's not going to be ready till mid-April at best. He's going to rush back, which means you could have, you're risking injury when you do that. So I would not rush or I would not, waste any money on Blake Snell. I really wouldn't. You just kind of hope your offense makes up for Cole for a couple of months. And then when he gets back, we'll see where things are. Now, as far as the cat thing, I didn't even think of that. The Rock is a cat. Still's lame, right? It still is lame. Cody is a nerd. He's a dork. He's trying to be the common everyman. I can't handle it anymore. I understand the implications now. I understand the reference of what the non-PG version of saying what a cat is. I get it. But it's still not funny or cool. And it's even less cool when you put it around the neck of your stupid dog. It's just, I don't know. I can't stand it. So, yeah, that doesn't help. Makes it worse. He's just a big dork. Now, good luck not singing along with his music. It is tempting, even as much as I hate his character. When you're live in person, it's difficult to resist it because his music is very catchy. His entrance is very well produced. But that doesn't mean you support the character. It means you just like the entrance. That's okay. I won't judge you. I won't judge. So, thanks, Charlie. And if we're doing the weekend review, I mean, yeah, that's fine. What we'll do, just so you know, I'll send you a link to to where I podcast a couple minutes before we do the show. And I usually record the show, just so you know, 9:30 Eastern time. So just, set your clock to that. You're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I think you're Central time. You're definitely not Eastern time, right? So that means, an hour or so different from you. So keep that in mind, and I'll send you a link to your email. All right, let's go. Let's talk to another Matt, and he says, I've been listening to your podcast on the free side since SummerSlam and finally joined Patreon on the SmackDown tier. Was just wondering of your thoughts. Well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate that. Was just wondering on your thoughts of Priest cashing in on Cody after he beats Roman. It'll bring a ton of heat on Priest, and as a Cody hater, I think it would be hilarious. You guys all do an awesome job. I will also be making the trip to Pittsburgh from Pittsburgh to Philly for WrestleMania. I couldn't be more pumped. Awesome. Well, I'm jealous you're going to Philly. I hope you have fun. And I don't think they'll do that for Cody and Damian. If you're going to make this move, and it's a colossal, gigantic move to dethrone Roman Reigns, that is headline news. You don't then subvert it or undercut it by having Damian Priest cash in. There is a time and place for that to get heat on Damian. but you're going to do it at the cost of what that moment means to the company, not just to Cody. It's not worth doing. Damian Priest already has heat. The amount of heat you think you'll gain from Damian doing that is not nearly enough to balance out the downside of doing that and ruining that moment for Cody and really the fans that would just, I think, genuinely be angry at the company, not at Damian. The anger would not be directed at Damian. Again, he would get the boos, but the anger is on the company. That's heat you don't want if you're the company. So I would not do that. Now, that doesn't mean that he can't try to cash in or he tries to cash in at a later date, but you don't mess with it at WrestleMania 40 with all this build and all of a sudden Damian's the one that comes out. Yeah, you can't. It'd be funny. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'd love to see it just out of pure interest on what the fans would say and do. But thanks, Matt. All right. Let's talk to David, who's another patron, and says, "Hey, Matt, hope you and everybody listening are doing good. Hopefully I'm not sending this in too late and we'll get in. I attended Raw this past Monday in Raleigh, and it was a blast. I sat in the first deck with really good seats with my dad and little brother as I bought them tickets to see their first live wrestling show. The first night was a lot of fun, and although advertising punk and rock, I wasn't disappointed at all with the show. The Becky versus Nia main event was probably my favorite match I've seen live besides Gunther and Gable after Payback. My favorite part of the night was watching my little brother, who deals with sensory processing disorder and high-functioning autism, have an absolute blast. He doesn't usually do well with loud and sudden noises or flashing lights, but all through the night he had a huge smile on his face and started really getting into it when Cody came out and the Becky versus Nia match, which was really awesome to see, and man, that's why we love wrestling. Also, since I just got the chance to listen to your episode with Rocky T, I wanted to include the demographic. I saw personally almost no kids when I was there, which was pretty shocking. Obviously, that could have been my section, but even when walking around the arena, it was obviously male-dominated, but there were a lot of women there, all generally young teens to adults, and all either with Rhea signs or Rhea-inspired makeup and outfits. Anyways, hope you all have a great week on the road to Mania." All right, David, very cool story. You know, wrestling just is a transcendent form of entertainment that is unlike any other. I mean, you obviously know your brother and the ailments he deals with much better than I do. But if wrestling was able to penetrate that and have him kind of, feel like he's just there and not dealing with ailments, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of a therapy in a way. That's really cool, right? Like, I mean, especially if you notice that he was smiling the whole time, right? It's just, that's wrestling. You don't see that in any other sport. You really don't. And, it's really cool. You know, I think that, you may have made him a fan for life. It sounds like. Now, to say also, what was striking in this particular email was when you said that Becky and Nia was your favorite match you've seen live besides Gunther and Gable after Payback. Imagine just a few months ago, anyone saying that one of their favorite matches included Nia Jax. That's a statement. Now, I don't disagree with you that it was a good match. And obviously your live matches and what you see are not the same that everyone else sees, but you're just saying the ones you've seen live, that was one of the best. And yeah, sure, that's a smaller sample size because you watch TV and all that, but it's still a hell of a testament to really Nia, who I continue to give credit, even though I don't agree with a lot of what she says and does. I think that she has vastly improved, and no discredit to Becky either. They had a hell of a main event. And it's just crazy. That's considered one of your favorite matches you've seen live. That's great. So I'm glad you have fun. Thank you for the demographic. You know, you never know who's there. We always think it's, the male 18 to 40 demo, but you'd be surprised, as you've noticed, it's younger teens, and especially the younger women tend to gravitate towards Rhea Ripley. Tons of Rhea shirts, mommy signs, I'm sure, right? I saw the same thing when I was in Albany a few months ago. I'm also still toying. I think I said this on my show, god dang, last night. I'm toying with going to Brooklyn for Raw. I'm toying it. I'm toying with it. Just because The Rock's going to be there, and I never know when you're going to see The Rock again. I'm very much on the fence about going to Brooklyn on April 1st, but we shall see. Thanks, David. All right. Let's go to Nick from Eugene. And he says, 2 quick booking thoughts. The U.S. title and tag title ladder match will be on night 1, and the IC title will be on night 2. I'm even more convinced this week that Damian Priest is going to cash in on Gunther and Sami, pinning Sami to win the belt. He was shown on screen this week not holding the briefcase as WWE is attempting to get the fans out of the mindset of a possibility of a cash-in. Totally, yeah, that's what I've always advocated for those men and women that hold the briefcase. Don't let us see it every week. Don't carry it around like it's, an EpiPen. Like that you gotta have it all the time or you'll die. Just in case. It's much more fun if you don't constantly carry the briefcase around to use the old adage of out of sight, out of mind. Fans will forget, which makes the moment of the cash-in that much more exciting. If you're constantly reminding fans of who the Money in the Bank briefcase winners are, then you're always thinking about cash-ins. I would agree that could be what he does. That could be what he's planning to do is cash in on Gunther and Sami. The only argument against that would be you're going to go from a heel to a heel, but you're going to have a hell of a wrestling triangle going on there between Damian, Sami, and Gunther. So the matches, when any combination of those 3 men or all 3 men at the same time would be stellar. But also, he would have to then explain why he didn't use his opportunity to go after the World Heavyweight Championship or the Undisputed Championship. They would really have to explain that. It's a gaping hole in logic. So, other than that, though, I wouldn't lose my mind over it. Number 2, I know you disagree, but I believe that CM Punk is going to be announced as a special guest referee for the World Championship match. Drew is going to win, and Punk will be forced to not only raise the arm, but hand him the belt as well. Chef's kiss. Can't wait to see CM Punk and DM Hunk collide at SummerSlam. Here's the thing, Nick. I agree with you in principle, but in execution, like in reality, the problem with that is actual, just physical restraints or physical limitations, I should say. Because CM Punk had his triceps torn. And I don't know the progress of his physical therapy, of his recovery, of his healing. I don't know. But I don't know if they would even have him physically count the 3. If he's capable of it, fine. But there's that inherent risk of counting the 3 requires a lot of arm movement. It really does. It sounds like it's not, but there's a lot of muscles that go into that. And your triceps are used. So, hey, if they can do that, great. I just don't know at this time if he has the physical ability to actually referee. It sounds silly, but there's a risk there. Finally, Pharaoh is clearly the worst on-screen pet in WWE history. Shout out to all my all-time favorite, Frankie, Coco B. Ware. Oh, his parrot. That's right. Coco B. Ware's parrot is Frankie. Yes. Coco was always my favorite mid-carder as a kid. So Frankie beats out Damien and Matilda, Davey Boy Smith's bulldog, and Eric Ropen's stupid ass fake spider. Thanks, Nick from Eugene. Well, don't forget about Jake the Snake. I mean, hell, it's in the name. But by far, Cody's dog is the worst and lamest and dorkiest thing he could bring on. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if next week he comes in with like a fanny pack and some kind of man purse with a chihuahua in it. Would that not fit Cody Rhodes? Bringing like a chihuahua out to the ring. I mean, the dude is just he's a dork. And his dog is lame. How are we supposed to connect with his dog? It's lame. Okay, thank you, Nick. You're going to get me riled up. Everything Cody does it's seemingly he can't get any worse, and he does. All right, let's talk to Lupe. And he says, hey, Matt, Loops here, a new Patreon member. Well, thank you. I love your show. I've been listening for almost a year, and I listen to you while I'm at work, and your show makes my nights more bearable since I work third shift. Oh, geez. Well, I'm glad I could help. I'm going to Monday Night Raw next Monday here in Chicago, and I'm super excited to see CM Punk, but wanted to ask, do you think since CM Punk is scheduled to appear, does that mean the rest of the show will be a bore? Hopefully not. Also really hoping to get my yeet on. Fingers crossed for Jay to be on the show. Have a good one, Matt. Yeah, I think Jay will be on the show. He's got a match coming up with his twin brother. He's got to be on the show. And he's one of the biggest baby faces that the company has right now. He has to be on the show. I don't think you have to really worry about Jay being on the show. As far as CM Punk, just because he's going to be on the show doesn't mean that the rest of the show is going to be negatively affected. Other than maybe if it goes long, we've seen that how many times with the Rock segments over the last month. If it goes long, then yeah, you have to take time away from other segments, but that's really the only factor, really the only effect it has on any other segment is just time if it goes over. So other than that, I wouldn't say one way or the other if Punk's there or he's not there, if it's going to be a good show. It depends why Punk's there. It depends what his role at WrestleMania is. I would imagine we'll learn that. If it's a special referee, cool. If it's a special enforcer, a special announcer, if he says he's just going to be at ringside, if he says, I don't know. Who knows? But I think CM Punk is going to have some kind of altercation with Drew McIntyre and or Seth Rollins. Has to. That's why he said when he comes back, he's going to target Drew McIntyre first. So there's going to be some altercation there, I would imagine. There has to be. So, but enjoy Chicago. It's going to be loud for Punk. And, time's running out. We've only got a couple shows left till WrestleMania. It's getting crazy. Thanks, Lupe, and thanks for joining us over on Patreon. Okay, let's go to another patron. This is Wario. Or is it Wario or Jario? I would say Wario. J is like a silent, or is it silent? I'm not sure. Is the J pronounced like a W? I'm going to take a chance on that. Oh, okay. Here we go. Hey, Matt, in your opinion, how can Cody trust Seth? Was it not a little over a year ago that Seth took a sledgehammer to Cody from behind? Cody said on Raw, quote, people change, but it seems like he's setting himself up for a betrayal by Seth. What are your thoughts? Thanks for taking my question. Well, that's a good question, and one that they've never really gone back to, right? They've never gone back to the fact that Cody was attacked by Seth after the Hell in a Cell match where he announced he was going to go get surgery and he took a sledgehammer to him. No one's even talking about that. It was forgotten about. Now, on some level, I understand that because they're involved in wildly different stories now, and you can't just stop them dead and cold to talk about a something that happened 8 months ago. I get that. But it is strikingly, it's a striking difference from where they were all of a sudden Seth trying to befriend Cody. It's bizarre. So I do believe there's a chance that Seth does betray Cody, but it won't happen in the tag team match. Why? Because you don't want Seth as a heel going against Drew the next night as a heel. You can't do it. You can't. So if you're going to turn Seth heel, it's got to be after WrestleMania. I guess you could also say at WrestleMania after, in the main event, you could do it, but that's getting convoluted. I would leave Seth's heel turn until post 40. I wouldn't even go there. It'll happen. I think it'll happen. I think Cody and Seth are destined to have another program with, for sure, Seth as the heel and Cody as the babyface. They're not going anywhere with Cody as the babyface right now. They've got something that is working. So thanks. All right. Let's see where else we're going. And we have Joe Owen. And Joe says, I would love to see R-Truth win the Money in the Bank briefcase this year. Imagine all the silly things he could do with messing up his cash-ins, like cashing in for the women's by mistake and lots of others. Also, the fans would literally blow the roof off if he won a world title. I wouldn't want him to have a long run with the title, but the moment would be epic. That's what I've been advocating for, man, is a moment for Truth. Even if it's a short run, a month run. I'm not a hot potato guy. I don't like hot potatoing any championship, but for Truth, since Triple H has taken over, has clearly established a belief of long title reigns. I mean, my God. So having it when it does happen, where title changes happen quick, if it's rare, it means more. And for Truth, it's worth that. It's worth him having that moment. But is it worth him having to cash in a Money in the Bank briefcase when you could have someone else do it and have it mean something? I don't know. I mean, Truth is a guy that even though a heel victory or heel winning the briefcase always makes sense, Truth is the one that actually could kind of, I think, turn that on its head, because everyone wants to see Truth win. And I think you would take a heel prize and somehow make it beloved for R-Truth. He's got that power. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. But let's see how they treat Truth as we move on after WrestleMania. That's going to be the real deciding factor, I think. All right. Let's talk to Gary, the Canadian. And he says, during a long banger match between Gunther and Sami, Brock needs to come out and absolutely wreck them both. Gunther retains with the DQ and sets up a year-long feud that ends up being a series of 3 matches between Brock and Gunther that starts at SummerSlam and ends at WrestleMania 41 after they split the first 2. Would be absolutely classic, brutal, fun matches. Elevate Gunther even more while he still isn't ready to jump into the main event scene yet. His mic skills are still a little iffy lately, seems nervous sometimes. Yeah, Gunther does have a little work to do on the microphone. He's not awful, but they have certainly elevated guys who have been catastrophically bad on the microphone and been main eventers. I mean, take a look at what they did with Roman Reigns for 7 years as the big dog character. He was horrific on the microphone, but they loved his look. He was intense in the ring, and he improved vastly in the ring, and his promos slowly got better, but it was very painful for a long time, and yet he was still in the main event. So I don't think that they're worried necessarily about the mic skills being the holding back factor. I think it's just timing. The scene isn't ready for Gunther right at this very moment. You got to look at who's the champion right now. You don't want a heel champion being challenged by a heel Gunther unless Gunther turns babyface. But as far as Brock coming out and wrecking both Gunther and Sami, if that happens after the match, you don't want Brock being added to it. You want Brock coming out after it, and that absolutely could happen if Brock is truly back and they're fitting him into plans. So that's true. But I don't know about a series of 3 being that long. I mean, if it starts at SummerSlam, I always think SummerSlam's closer to WrestleMania than it actually is. SummerSlam is like 8 months. Isn't it? No, SummerSlam is like 7.5 months, roughly 7 to 8 months till WrestleMania. I always think it's like 6 months and 6 months, 6 months to SummerSlam, 6 months to WrestleMania. It's actually a little bit further from SummerSlam to Mania than we all think, because SummerSlam is getting earlier and earlier. If anyone didn't notice, it used to be at the end of August. Now it's at the beginning of August, and it has been for a little while now. So they could do that, but boy, that's a long time to string out matches. I don't hate it. But it's just a long time to commit to somebody, and having fans maintain that interest level for that long is difficult. Even if they kind of take detours on other opponents and things and come back, it's difficult to get fans re-engaged, not once, not twice, but 3 times. It is. But I don't hate it. I like long-term booking, Gary. I'm with you on this. I just know that they probably won't do it. All right, let's continue with our next email. Only another 1, maybe 2 emails, and then we're going to get to those voicemails and wrap up the show. But let's talk to, DJ Kuzmo. Let's see what he's got to say. He says, this is DJ Kuzmo back at it again on your Mailbag show. And then there were just 2 weeks until WrestleMania 40, and so far it seems like the majority of the matches have been announced, with the exceptions of Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar, maybe Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits versus Karrion Kross and the AOP again. I have to say, DJ, that sounds a whole lot like a pre-show match right now, sadly. Let's see. And don't forget, probably a women's tag team championship match made up of these multi teams. And last but certainly not least, the bottom of the barrel, the all-important Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which probably might be on SmackDown before WrestleMania. Yeah, probably. Anyway, interesting to see what matches open both nights of WrestleMania, and obviously I think we know the the main events of night 1 being Rock and Roman versus Cody and Seth, and night 2, Cody versus Roman. I still don't get why Seth is going to be wrestling on both nights. He just can't help himself. I guess it's that fighting champion babyface narrative, and in the words of Drew to Seth, in calling him a, quote, spotlight junkie. Well, I have to say to Drew on that whole thing, if you're not a spotlight junkie, you're in the wrong business. Everyone by default in pro wrestling should be a spotlight junkie, because that's why you're here, to get attention, draw money. If you're not a spotlight junkie, you are going to fail. So the spotlight junkie is just it's not an insult. It's something everyone should aspire to be. But anyway, 2 last things. Number 1, don't forget about Damian Priest with the Money in the Bank briefcase, which to me should expire at WrestleMania if he doesn't cash in on a championship. It's as if Priest has held the briefcase for almost as long as Roman Reigns' title reign. Does he even have a chance of cashing in on the world title if Seth somehow retains? I will say, if Seth retains, there's a very high likelihood of Damian Priest cashing in. If Drew wins, almost to me, it should be a 0% chance, because Drew doesn't deserve that. Drew, in a proper run, deserves a proper run. He doesn't deserve a swerve of Damian Priest. Damian's not in a good position to really cash in on anyone right now, outside of the Intercontinental title. Or maybe the U.S. title. But again, you don't go from typically heel to heel. Right now, the landscape doesn't really warrant a Priest cash-in. As long as he's held it, it doesn't even... and I know it feels like it's been years, but he still has until July. That's how long it's felt. I don't think it should expire, because that hasn't been the rule since the Money in the Bank has been in existence. So you get a year. Okay, number 2. From watching the contract segment of Sami and Gunther this past Monday, it's just an opinion, but I don't think Sami is going to defeat Gunther at WrestleMania. Gunther looking at Sami with a smirk and a laugh proves to me that Sami's not going to win. So assuming that Gunther wins at WrestleMania, do you think that at the next PLE Backlash, thank you for just calling it Backlash, DJ, that Chad Gable gets one more championship opportunity against Gunther, or does a potential returning Brock Lesnar spoil Gable's chances? Well, it depends if they really want to shove Brock Lesnar into a Intercontinental title picture. That's why, if Gunther loses at WrestleMania, which there's a very good chance of, Brock Lesnar's very close behind. Because you could do a program with Brock for a few months, let the world title picture settle before Gunther moves into the world title picture. So I don't think immediately after Gunther drops the IC belt that he's going to jump into the world title picture. But Chad could be the one, if Sami doesn't beat him at WrestleMania, to take it from him in a triple threat, say at Backlash, where Chad pins Sami and then Gunther loses, so Gunther's protected. But also, again, Brock Lesnar could be the X factor, but I don't think he's going to be involved in the Intercontinental title picture. All right. Finally, in non-wrestling news, shout out to all the fans of Marvel Comics, including myself. Today is the day for the series premiere of X-Men 97. I absolutely loved the original animated series from the 90s as a little kid, watching that show on Saturday mornings. It seems like this new series continues from where the previous series left off, and one of the things I love about both series is the storytelling and different side stories of each episode that it goes into. That keeps you invested and wanting more. Anyway, before I go on further, sidebar about X-Men, mutants, and everything Marvel related. DJ Kuzmos signing off. Have a great weekend, everyone. All right. Thank you, DJ. Yeah, X-Men, I mean, if you were a 90s kid, it's impossible to avoid the X-Men. Impossible. And if you were a boy in the 90s growing up, yeah, you were just a fan by default. Yeah, I mean, I've got nothing negative to say about the 90s or as far as X-Men goes, but is it not something that is very similar to what you watch today? You're talking about great storytelling, side stories, invested, wanting more. Sound familiar? Sound like something you're watching right now, DJ? Amazing how that dynamic never fails, no matter how old you get. Thank you, DJ. Okay, let's talk to one more person. I think there's one more, and then we'll be done here with the emails. And this one comes to us from Micah. And I will say, as I am about to read this, my Patreon, for those of you who are like, wait a minute, I'm on Patreon, I didn't get my message read. My Patreon just refreshed, I've been having issues all day with it, and I figured, I'm up to date. I have a few messages from patrons who I apologize. You should get priority placement in the show. I just got the refresh. I've been having issues with Patreon, so I didn't forget you. At least I didn't totally forget you, okay? Everything is now up to date and refreshed. So let's talk to, let's see here. This is, again, Micah. My name's Micah, and I've been a big fan of your show for quite a while. I love your viewpoints, agree with you on a lot of stuff, and appreciate people who don't see eye to eye with you. I do too, and thank you. I've been a huge fan of wrestling my whole life. I'm 48. In fact, at one time, I wanted to be a pro wrestler. Me too, man. Me too. Along the way, I have met legends like Bobby the Brain Heenan, Big John Studd, and Hulk Hogan. Athletics, fitness, journalism, and wrestling have always been a lifestyle for me. I'm reaching out to you because I attended the SmackDown event on March 22nd in Milwaukee. I believe Rey Mysterio, Roman, Cody, and even The Rock will be there. I'm going to make my best effort to record the event and possibly talk to all the performers. Wow. Okay. I was wondering if you'd like to talk to me about my experience on your podcast. I would love to express to your listeners what it's like to be at an event like this, as you do week after week. If you're interested in having me on, and then you give me your phone number, or you can contact me by email. If you have something planned for this weekend already, no worries. I always enjoy your show and try to tell all my friends and new wrestling fans about it. Please keep up the great podcast. Here's to the love of the legends and not being a Cody crybaby. Well, thank you, Micah. I'm glad you listened to the show. Even if you love the show, I'm sure you're sitting there at some points and going, that's a stupid point. I don't agree with him, and that's fine. I encourage that stuff. I'm always truthful with my opinions, and I don't expect everyone to agree with me all the time. That would be very boring, wouldn't it? So, that's cool, and I thank you for telling your friends about it. It's really appreciated. So obviously you heard I have Charlie coming on for the weekend review, but that doesn't mean we can't try to squeak you on in another fashion. How about this? I'll let me figure something out here, because I am curious about your experience at SmackDown. I love hearing from the listeners. I love hearing, especially live in-person events, and getting takeaways from that. So we can be in touch. Okay, let me figure something out. My days are very crammed. I'm not just saying that as like hyperbole or like, my days are so busy, I just can't fit anything in. Like I do have so much going on that, behind the scenes, nothing bad. I'm not going through like a divorce, but it's just life, right? Like kids and house, and trying to find time to do this is very challenging. So that said, let me try to figure out what to do with this. I hope it's Micah. Right, Micah. Okay. All right. Let me figure something out, but I appreciate it, and we'll be in touch. All right, let's get to the patrons. My bad. My bad, guys. Although it's Patreon's bad. So let me talk to the Pebble. And he says, just wanted to quickly write in to say a big thanks for all the awesome content. It really helps me get through tough days. Your work definitely matters, so thank you, and please keep it up. Shout out to the OG gang, Rocky T, Alex the French Guy, DJ Kuzmo. You guys go a long way in making this podcast as awesome as it is. Well, appreciate that. And yeah, shout out to all of the OGs who have been here since the beginning. It is kind of crazy to think how long I've been doing this. Just wanted to raise the topic of a tag team ladder match at Mania. Personally, I'm thrilled about it. Some of my favorite ever Mania matches have been ones with a gimmick or stipulation. The ones that come to mind are TLC 1 at WrestleMania 2000, TLC 2 at Mania 17, the McMahon Street Fight, yes, that was also 17, Taker versus Triple H with Michaels as the ref in the Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania 28, Edge versus Foley in the Hardcore match, just to name a few. That's just, you're asking me to mention any others that stand out. I mean, WrestleMania 25, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, probably the best WrestleMania match from a wrestling perspective I've ever seen, from a storytelling anyway perspective that I've ever seen. Obviously, Daniel Bryan winning at WrestleMania 30 is another one. John Cena and HBK, WrestleMania 21. I mean, there's so many. That it's really even. I got to say, WrestleMania 31 with Brock and Roman Reigns, I think really over-delivered and isn't talked about enough. I know we all talk about WrestleMania 31 as the heist of the century with Seth Rollins cashing in, but really that match with Brock and Roman was a hell of a match. So I don't think that one's talked about enough, as I said. But okay, on this topic, what are your thoughts on the lack of these sorts of matches in recent years? Do you think this devalues the program, or are you of the opinion that the focus should be more on strict technical wrestling in the grandest stage of them all, as this can really showcase the talent's abilities without the need of a stipulation to enhance the match? Well, again, stipulations can help. Gimmick matches can help, but they only can help to a certain degree. They can help add a little flavor, add a little more intrigue, help with marketing, right? I mean, it's a hell in a cell. That instantly means something to somebody. If you're a wrestling fan, it means something to you. But here's what matters the most, and here's what gimmicks can't make up for. Star power, great storytelling, and great in-ring wrestling and in-ring storytelling, not just the build to the match. So I don't think it's and again, this is all subjective. So you're saying that lack of these matches in recent years, well, again, that's subjective. You may have some people who thought the last few years, like Kevin Owens and Stone Cold Steve Austin in WrestleMania 38, there was no stipulation there. Just, man versus man. It's all subjective, but I don't think that we can look at gimmicks as a substitution for great storytelling. And sometimes WWE, when they see a story that doesn't feel like it's lived up to its potential, or they're concerned about the actual execution of the match, will add gimmicks as almost a reflex to try to deodorize or enhance the match. But what do you think about the ladder match having 6 teams? Personally, I was hoping for a ladder match for the IC or US title, as I think that 12 competitors might see the match slightly oversubscribed. The original TLC matches had 3 teams, and they were full of action as it was. Yeah, this is absolutely insane. And you may say, oh, it's a first time ever. Yeah, it's a first time ever. But you know what? Just because it's a first time ever doesn't mean it's a good idea. There's a lot of things that haven't been done that aren't being done because they shouldn't be done because they're bad ideas. I'm not saying this is a bad idea. I'm giving it a chance. But at the same time, just looking at this using common sense, 12 men, which is almost half of a Royal Rumble in the same match at the same time with weapons all over the place, there's high risk for injury. There's a high risk for not being able to tell the match the way that you want to, especially for the announcers trying to call this. Good luck. It's going to be so much action all over the place. It's just going to be car crash after car crash, and it's just too much. I agree 3 should be the most, but 6 is absurd. Now, that's not to say the effort's not going to be there. It's just too much to watch. There's no time to digest anything. So that's my concern. And on top of that, again, higher risk of injury for all the competitors. Finally, I'm convinced that they will be splitting the titles here, and having R-Truth in the match gives them the best opportunity to achieve it. My prediction is that he will climb the ladder but accidentally only retrieve 1 set of titles, so the match must continue until the other set is won. What are your thoughts? Apologies for longer than email. I'm just too excited about WrestleMania Playa. No worries. So it really was not that long compared to some. I have to say that was not bad. Okay. Does R-Truth choose 1 title and then not take the other one so they have to split it? I could see them doing that. I'm not a fan of them splitting it again, though. I don't like the fact that they haven't created a unified tag team belt, which could be a sign that they have no intention of keeping it this way and they are going to resplit the belts. But I also think that if these titles represent the championship as a whole, no matter what title you grab or how many, one of them is enough to say that you've won the match. But I could see them doing that. It does seem quirky enough for R-Truth to do, but I don't want another tag team title match. I don't. Or another tag team titles at all. So thanks, Pebble. All right, 2 more. Dr. Freeman. And he says, hi, Matt. What an amazing Raw it was this week. The promo from Cody was one of the best I've heard in months. At least that's what I thought until I watched it back a second time. The first time I was busy on the phone, only half watching. I remember being stunned by how good it was when I wasn't paying attention. On a rewatch, it was typical Cody yawn, but it made me think, do people like Cody because they aren't actually paying attention to him? Surely that's not the reason. I don't know what that is, but that's my new theory. Well, I think they're paying attention to him. But he's a very soft, likable babyface to a lot of people. He physically looks like he's a nice guy, even though he looks like a complete tool to me. He's very good in the ring. I'll never take that away from him. He's very good in the ring. He seems like a genuinely nice guy. He's doing things for fans that other wrestlers have never done, like going to prom with people and like being the best man for other weddings, and doing these things that you're just like, wow, that is such a nice thing to do. So he comes across very genuine to a lot of people, but for people like you and I, we see through the crap. And it's just too much. It's too soft. It's too gushy. It's too warm and cuddly. I don't like it. But it's a theory for sure. With reports coming out that Asuka's injured and pulled from all live events, what do you do with the women's tag belts for WrestleMania? We don't have a confirmed booking yet, so everything is on the table. Personally, I think it's time for Alba Fire and Isla Dawn to finally take the belts so they can remove the curse. So that's right, they were going to remove the curse. I think that's a great idea. Do whatever kind of witchcraft and wizardry they need to do. Bring it to hell. Take the belts and bring them to Hogwarts. See what Dumbledore can do with it, right? I don't know. I mean, there's something on them. So sure, I actually like that idea because they promised they would remove the curse. So absolutely. But in all seriousness, I wouldn't mind them as tag team champions because until they actually make those belts mean something and are consistent with it, it doesn't matter who the champions are. And that's awful to say, but the championship has no respect and no value because WWE made it that way. Lastly, Sami defeating Gunther doesn't seem like the right time. Gunther as champion is too much of a good thing to lose at the moment, so I see him retaining. I totally agree. The issue there is isn't it better for him to drop the belt while he's over? If he keeps it too long, he will get the same criticism as Roman and people don't care anymore. We don't know how much longer this interest in the title will last for, and most opponents have already faced Gunther and lost. At some point, we're going to be treading old ground again, and we have had a little bit of that with Chad. So the question is, if Gunther doesn't drop the belt to Sami at Mania, then who will he drop it to? He can't hold it forever. Again, Chad Gable has a hell of a story going. He still has a story going on behind the scenes. I think Chad could still do it. Chad could still do it in a triple threat with Gunther at Backlash, as DJ Kuzma pointed out earlier. Absolutely do it that way. I agree. I don't think Sami feels right. He just doesn't. Doesn't feel it. I mean, people are loving this Gunther run, even though they boo him. They understand what's happening here. And Gunther as IC champion has been nothing but fantastic for the business, for the title, for his opponents, and for Gunther himself. Everything he touches turns to gold. I wouldn't touch it. I really wouldn't. Keep the belt going. I honestly wouldn't have Gunther lose that championship until he's ready to face Brock without a belt. If Brock's coming back to face Gunther, Brock doesn't need to compete for the belt. Or he's ready to move up to the world title picture. Until then, don't mess with it. You've got a very rare thing going. It's not out of the realm of possibility that Gunther gets to 1,000 days. He's already at 650 or 651, whatever. He's close. All right. I promise this is the last one. Alex, the French guy. He says, I have a suspicion that Drew and or some of the other members of the roster are listening to the podcast. I have that same suspicion too. So here's some examples. Drew, if you're indeed listening, you can say, I thought you were going to provide examples. You're telling Drew what to say. Gotcha. All right, Drew, listen. Here's what one of our listeners says you should say. So listen up. So he says, you can say the following at one point during Raw or even on social media. Say this, quote, Seth, you are not worthy of this title. If you say this, we'll know that you're listening and we'll keep this as our secret, right? Yes, we'll keep it as a secret. Again, here's the code word, Drew. Code words. You just have to say, Seth, you're not worthy of this title. Pretty plain, pretty plain Jane, right? It's like winking to someone on camera. You can say, I think you can easily say that. Sneaking in your promo, there's nothing weird about it. It's a very kind of common phrase. So again, Drew, all you have to say is, Seth, you are not worthy of this title. Got it, Drew? And we'll know you're listening. I like that. Maybe he's not listening, but I tossed the bottle into the sea. Good stuff, Alex. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's possible. I have to say it's very possible. All right. That's it for the emails. Let's get to those lovely voicemails right now.
What's going on, WWE Podcast World? This is DJ Kuzmo back at it again on your Mailbag show. Record to you live on a Wednesday morning. And before we get to the Veer Mahan report, I must mention last week on the Monday Night Raw, I guess you could say WWE main event taping, the Indishir were in action against the clowns, those clowns of the Alpha Academy of Akira Tozawa and none other than Otis. They did have a dark match. It was 4 minutes and 57 seconds. For the most part, the match quality was, not bad. It was good offense from both tag teams. it looked like the Indus was about to pull off the victory, and then all of a sudden things turned it out for the worse for my guys Veer Mahaan and Sangha. The match ended with some sort of rolling discus by Otis to none other than my guy Veer Mahaan, and then some sort of sunset flip roll-up that Akira Tozawa gave to Veer Mahaan, and 1, 2, 3, the Alpha Academy won. And that's how that match ended in the dark match for WWE Main Event last week in Houston, Texas, before Monday Night Raw. Now let's fast forward to this week. Now, before we get to the Veer Mahaan report for this week, I want to give a quick shout-out. If you have seen, during the Jimmy and Jay Uso segment, there was a particular sign in the crowd, and that was from none other than Dap the Wu-Tang guy. Now, this guy, he has some legendary signs. If you saw in that segment with Jimmy and Jay Uso, he had a sign called Call Rikishi. So shout out to Dap the Wu-Tang guy. I don't know if you're listening to this episode of the Mailbag, but man, out of the whole sea of We Want Cody signs, your sign stuck out, and I love the sign. It's hilarious, and maybe Rikishi's watching, and hey, why not have Rikishi be the referee, the guest referee of the Jimmy versus Jay WrestleMania match coming up very soon. But now let's get to your favorite show to come in every single week on the Mailbag, and I'm talking about the Veer Mahaan report. Now, the Veer Mahaan report took place this past Monday night on Monday Night Raw, live from Raleigh, North Carolina, and we did get another appearance of the Indus in this qualification match to get into the 6-man tag ladder match for WrestleMania. We did have the matchup between the Indus and Awesome Truth. Things were looking well for the Indus in this matchup, but then everything kind of went to the dogs as the tag came to none other than Mr. R-Truth doing his typical 5-knuckle shuffle and all of the moves of doom that he does from his mentor, his idol, John Cena. And to add injury to insult, the match ended with an accidental pin on my guy Veer Mahaan from R-Truth, and 1, 2, 3, Awesome Truth moves on to WrestleMania to be part of this 6-man tag ladder match, while my guys, the Indus now go back to, I don't know, nowhere, to the abyss. But whatever the case may be, we had back-to-back Indus matches, which is pretty good in my opinion, as the only lone Veer Mahaan and Indus fan. Now, with that being said, and now I'm going over my 3-minute time. Have a blessed week. Be kind to one another. This is DJ Kuzmo. Stay with my friends, and peace.
Hey, DJ, yeah, I did see that sign too. Good stuff. I don't know if he listens either. I'm not sure who he is, but that sign, yeah, it's a Call Rikishi. I mean, Rikishi could absolutely come maybe for like the final Raw and try to mediate, obviously, the dispute between these two, with them being their father. So, yeah, I like that. And it was a standout sign. I think it went a little bit viral, not crazy, but like a little bit. It made its rounds on social media, and it's pretty clever. I think Rikishi could easily come in, not do anything physical, of course, just mediate between the two and have a heated debate, and then it breaks down to a brawl, as it always does with those two, and they hit 48 super kicks, and they both leave. So, yeah, and as far as the Veer Mahaan double appearance, dark match even, that's a good sign. Again, you need to have the bar super low with this team, and I hate to say that, but the bar is so low that even if they appear in dark matches, or even have a backstage segment where they're accidentally on camera, where they're just like, in the background, but not meant to be on camera, I would take that as a win. But the fact they had 2 matches, even though they lost, it's something. It's something, at least, for the fact that you could build an argument that they aren't going to be fired when they do their next round of layoffs, which is always post-Mania, like a few weeks after Mania. So that's sad that the bar is, we're looking for them to not get fired, and that's sad, but it's encouraging that they're here, at least for a couple weeks. But I don't know if there's any plans for Mania. Again, I wouldn't get your hopes up. Thanks, DJ. Appreciate it. And let's continue.
Hey, it's Kyle from Baltimore. So I wanted to talk about, Becky and Rhea's, face-up and interaction last week. These things after Becky won against Zai, which is a really good, it was a good match, and, it was a passable match. It was a really good match. Nia has proven herself in the ring. But really, Becky and Rhea, I'm honestly looking forward to this match more than Io and Bayley, mainly because not because of I guess the storyline perspective, the story between Io and Bayley has, like I said a couple weeks ago, has been nicely formed and nicely told between Bayley and Io, and in Bayley's development as a babyface has been great. But Becky and Rhea, to me, is the only match personally that I'm looking forward to at WrestleMania than anything else that's been announced for WrestleMania thus far was Becky and Rhea. If personally this really should be the main event at night one, but I know it won't because that's just how I feel it. Because you have two credible names at both Becky and Rhea, the two top stars on the show, and it's like I know that Becky isn't everyone's cup of tea anymore. People think she's old news, but Becky's still great. I'm still a Becky fan, and I'm also a Rhea fan. So for me personally, I can't wait for this match because I like two people that I like equally. I love when they face each other for the championship, and I do feel like Rhea's going to retain it. That's fine, but I just feel like these two are together. They could create some magic at WrestleMania, and I just think, so I think it would be a great match. And I think it was up to me to be the main event because it's the main match for me, and I'm looking forward to the most more than anything at WrestleMania, like I said. But I just think after WrestleMania, Rhea needs some credible Rhea and Becky both need some credible opponents after WrestleMania, because I don't want to see again with Rhea Ripley facing a top star and Becky Lynch, and then go instantly facing someone that isn't equal to Becky's stardom level, even Rhea at this point. So that's my hope, is that they can treat Rhea's run as champion with a little bit more respect and have more credible names for Rhea to face in the next up-and-coming pay-per-view. So there's at least some doubt of if she can lose the championship to that person, when it's not like going into a match with her saying that Rhea's going to go in and say, oh, she's going to win, no question about it. There's no doubt that she's going to lose. I want there to be some doubt. At least with Becky, there's some doubt. I'm not saying Becky to win, but she's still a top star. She's been champion before, and it's happened before. She defeated Bianca Belair. So that's what I want with Rhea Ripley. Some people for her to face that seem kind of somewhat equal to Becky's level and even Rhea's level as well. So that's just my hope. But overall, I've been.
Kyle, you bring up a good point. This build with Becky and Rhea has not been exactly off to the races, right? We haven't been off and running. Fans can't wait. Most fans are still mediocre about it, but they've done a very slow but steady, nice build with them. It's not going in the wrong direction, and that's a positive. It's not going down where every week fans are going, oh my God, this is getting worse. It's slowly getting better. It just didn't light the world on fire like they probably hoped it would. It just hasn't. Because the Becky character is it hasn't been a whole lot of fun and feeling fresh and just a ton of momentum. The fans can't wait. Like, it's just been kind of a stale character for a while. That's all. But you're right. The point I wanted to make is through all this kind of mediocre build with these two, and again, it's not for a lack of effort. I don't even know what the magic formula is. I'm not smart enough to figure out how to light this program on fire with just a couple weeks ago. You probably can't. But what they can do is in-ring at WrestleMania, make you care with the match. That's all Becky and Rhea themselves can really rely on. It's not creative. Don't listen to the writers. Just go out there and have a 5-star kick-ass match. That's how you bring them in. How many times do we see cold matches with no build and the fans go crazy? I.e. DIY and the Creed Brothers this week. Yeah, there's a stipulation or something on the line where that team gets into the 6-pack challenge at WrestleMania. Big deal. But for just typical build, there was no build. They didn't have promos before the match, and the fans got into it big time when they started to have a awesome match and just wrestling psychology 101 and have awesome near falls. That's how you do it. Tell a story and do it well and put everything out there. That's how they can make up for this kind of and probably bring people like myself in who are ho-hum about Becky into this and going, wow, I forgot how effing good she is. That's what we need to do. That's what would help everyone. But post-Mania, I think they're probably going to go back to Becky. Again, Backlash is kind of just the warmed leftovers, the warmed over leftovers of WrestleMania. So we'll probably get a Becky Rhea rematch, maybe somebody else thrown in. But after that, our next real opponent, I mean, honestly, unless there's a trade from SmackDown, like Rhea Ripley, I don't know who she goes to. I don't know who the next person is. Charlotte's on SmackDown, right? I think she's on SmackDown, so she can't go there. So it's tough. But yeah, it's a good question. Good question to everyone to ponder. All right, one more voicemail. Thanks, Kyle, and let's get to it and call it a night.
Oh, hey, man. Bevan here from Australia. Hey, what are the chances that Cody doesn't finish his story at WrestleMania? Crikey, I hope he doesn't. I don't know, that you've gone over this so long, so I don't need you to repeat and agree or whatever, but I'm sick of his smile, I'm sick of his dog, I'm sick of him coming out, 2 weeks ago on Raw, he got out of his motorhome or the bus or whatever, and there was a sticker of his dog on the bloody front door that he tapped, then had a big smile and walked in. It was like, I honestly shouted out Air Force, because it's bloody vomiting juicy. So, to be honest, I wish they would like rekindle the 24/7 championship and let him finish his story on that embarrassing belt rather than than the Universal one. So, yeah, just wondering, we never thought that The Rock would be, heel when he returned. We thought he would be babyface, like you said, too, and, it would just be the more, plain Rock. Whereas we've got heel Rock, which no one expected, and it's great. So here we're all expecting Cody to win at WrestleMania, but maybe he won't. And I really hope he doesn't, because his character is nauseating. Anyway, I'm driving my car, it's winding me up, and I don't want to rear end anyone, so I'll leave it there. Chat soon, mate. Bye-bye.
Bevan, I laughed out loud. I know you couldn't hear me. I had the mic off when I was listening, but I laughed out loud when you said Cody should finish his story with the 24/7 title. I mean, that's a belt his dad never won. How come he can't finish it with that one? That's awesome. That was great. Yeah, I mean, here's the problem. Well, this isn't really a problem more as it is an observation. The Cody crybabies, Cody fans, have forced The Rock to change his character. They forced him out of the event with Roman Reigns. And as a byproduct, we now have arguably the best version of The Rock we've ever seen in his entire career. That's not an understatement or an overstatement, rather. And now those same people can't get enough of The Rock. Even those that were telling The Rock to go away are like, wait a minute, no, come back. This is awesome. Come back, Rock. Come back. I wonder if this version of The Rock taking the position of Cody would actually be better than Cody facing Roman. Now, obviously, it's not going to happen. Everything's locked in. But those that are cheering for Cody and were booing The Rock are now the ones who are cheering The Rock when he's turned heel because he's so gosh dang entertaining. Everyone is loving The Rock. It seems like no one's really booing him. The only time he gets booed is when he says that he hopes Roman Reigns retains at WrestleMania. That's it. Everything else The Rock does and says and sings and everything. Everyone's cheering this because this is freaking awesome. But with Cody, again, the problem is, Bevan, you and I are in the minority, bro. We are in the minority, unfortunately. And how do I know that? Listen to the crowd every week. We are unfortunately the very loud vocal minority, but we're speaking our minds, and it's not working. It's not catching fire with most of the fans because they're enamored with this dog-loving, just in sync wannabe politician. That's a combination of everything I think he looks like and speaks like, by the way, albeit very talented. So again, I'm always like following up the backhanded, compliments with real compliments. I really am, because he is. I understand why he's here in the position he is. But the fans are the ones who put him here, not WWE. The fans did. Because from day one on WrestleMania 38, when he debuted against Seth Rollins back from AEW, some reason they anointed him as the king of the WWE. I don't know why or how, but you're right. What if he doesn't finish? He loses at WrestleMania. No one's talking about that. And I've gone over it a little bit, but what if? What if? I don't think it'll happen. I'm very much of the belief that Cody will win and the Roman Reigns story with the title will be over, but boy, I want to see what the fans do if Cody loses. I think that is actually more exciting and gives me chills to think about rather than, okay, Cody wins. Cool. I mean, it's a feel-good moment. I get it. I understand. Roman's reign is over finally after 3.5 years. It is a big story. It is a big moment. I think it's bigger if Cody loses. It's bigger. It also takes a massive set of balls by WWE to not let Cody win. Think about the set you have to not let Cody win. After all this time, after all this build, they screwed him last year. They can't do it again this year. It seems like everything's lining up. It's WrestleMania 40. And they don't pull the trigger again. I would infinitely love to see that outcome and the reaction of fans more than the elation and, oh my God, let's all embrace and let's all hug and make out and, all that lovey-dovey crap that we'll get with Cody Rhodes. And I can't even imagine. You think it's bad now, Bevan? Think about his promo after he likely, but not guaranteed, wins the belt at Mania, and that he comes out, he's the first person on the Raw after Mania, because he will be. And he comes out and he's, crying, and this is for you, Dad. And he's got his mom in the ring. His dog's taking a crap in the middle of the ring, right? And he's in there with his whole family. He's crying, sobbing like a child. He has freshly bleached blonde hair. Maybe he had some Crest white strips on his teeth the night before, so they're pearly white. He's got a fresh new suit. And he's standing there and he's crying. And we're all supposed to just have one big embrace. I mean, I say that as kind of half serious, but it's very serious in a way of that could be the visual we get. Monday night after Raw, Monday night after WrestleMania, the very first thing we see if he with the belt on his shoulder. Maybe like statue of his dad in the ring, and he puts the belt around the statue of his dad, symbolically, putting a. Tell me you couldn't imagine that happening. It makes me want to throw my phone right now out the window. But it's a very possible real reality. So, all right, I'm going to stop there because I'm getting all heated over something that hasn't quite happened yet. But thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Bevan, for getting me all hyped up. Thank you for all the callers, all the emailers. And again, apologize to those few patrons that I put you towards the end of the show. It was just, I got you on the show at least. So there's that. So thank you so much, everybody. We'll be back. I'll be back Sunday night with Charlie. And maybe some other things in between. We will see. So I appreciate all the support, everybody. Consider going on Patreon for ad-free or Apple for ad-free experiences. Both of them offer free trials. So if you don't want to spend any money, you just want to check us out for a week, you can do that with no ads. Wouldn't that be wonderful, huh? All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Take care. Talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.